Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hello.
Okay, my turn.
Your turn.
To say we got listeners,
Oh.
baby. I was able to figure out how to get into Canada.
Oh, no shit.
Shit. So many amazing messages, comments.
Canada edition.
Canada edition. So kind as they are. It's so nice having you guys back in my life. Longtime listener of Totally Married, Totally Lame, Totally Mommy, and T-Bash. One night, I was listening and falling asleep and started laughing so hard that my husband thought I was sobbing. I just had to explain to him that I was listening to you guys. It was the episode with my mess on the toilet. Mine, meaning Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. What a mess.
Thank you so much, Elgin, Toronto. Then we also have so many messages. I'm not going to get to all of them, but thrilled to have you back. I've been listening since the beginning. Love this podcast from Klossner Gal, Stothella, MLLE Eiffel, and Run Oleander. Yes, Canada is listening. Love your podcast. I started listening about a month ago, but based on a recommendation from a reader on Substacks, Now We're Talking by Dori Shafir. Oh. Love listening to your candid, open discussions and all things going on in your relationship.
Hey! Shout out Canada.
Thank you, Canada. I love that country.
Ah, the Great White North.
So wonderful. Any listeners in the U.S. stateside?
Oh, yeah. We got a new listener here, new somebody here. This is from Mimo. Just found out about you through Armchair Expert, and I'm having fun listening to the two of you talk about life. Very relatable on a lot of levels. Hope you keep it coming for your sake and for mine.
Oh, man.
Another Armchair Expert crossover. You can shout out Monica for having another crossover listener from K-Bam Boat.
Gotta say...
Jeez.
Okay, let's get right into it.
Oh, okay.
We might as well just call this the oh my God, my brain just stopped working. What is it called? The Simulation Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I took our kid on a hike today.
Okay.
I'm not a big hiker, but honestly, while doing it, well, I'll get to that. I've had some thoughts.
Gosh.
In general, like, I think I actually came to a peace within that was like, I don't like hiking.
Yeah, recently you were like, I don't hike. I'm not a hiker.
Yeah. Well, that may have changed a bit, but we went on a hike and Teddy knew this like shortcut, basically.
Okay.
That they had taken them on camp, and this shortcut was no fucking joke. It was like this rocky. I was pissed like halfway up the shortcut, and I was like, Teddy, what are we doing? Also realized, I will get to that also, but this is the most physical exertion I've put forth into the world.
Yeah.
In probably a year and a half to possibly 3 years.
Okay.
Okay. Because of my surgery and all the pain leading up to it and everything. My back does feel a little like, hey, what's going on? So
just in general lately, right?
Just in general lately.
Not from the hike today.
The hike I think has played a role. I'm actually, so this hike was mere hours ago.
Yeah.
I feel sore now as though it's the next day. And this is just a hike that like I used to do and maybe would break a sweat. I mean, it's not like a crazy, it's a good hike, but anyway, I don't want to say where it was, which I'll get to in a minute.
Okay.
But we get spat out of this shortcut. And I am like...
You're just trying to keep it a LA secret shortcut or something?
You'll understand in a minute. Just patience. We get spat out. I'm like red-faced, huffing and puffing. And I look up and there's two strapping guys coming at me down the hill.
Yeah.
And like before I could even think about it,
yeah,
I go, Dax?
No.
It was Dax Shepard.
Shut the hell up. What?
Yeah. And of course, he looked at me as, I mean,
You would-
celebrities do, like, and what is this going to be? In a very nice way. He was like the very nice version of
And
it.
how quickly did you try to explain who you were?
Well,
and did he figure it out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was so lovely. Add to this that I was barely able to breathe at this moment in time. I'm huffing and puffing.
Yeah.
Like, can't catch my breath. And as soon as I said his name, I was like, why did I say it? But I actually know why I did say it. Because
everybody knows why you said it.
Everyone
what are you
knows
talking
why.
about?
I genuinely wanted to thank him, you know, for all of the love. And so I, you know, I said it and he looked at me kind of like, am I supposed to know you? And I immediately was like, oh, I'm Elizabeth. Like, I couldn't breathe. And then I was like, Elizabeth Lame. He was so gracious. And then he still was looking at me like, what? And then I was like, you were on our podcast a while ago. And then he goes, oh my gosh, we've been talking about you like almost every episode.
Okay, hold on. You didn't lead with that you've heard that they've been talking about us?
Andy, you don't understand. That would be, how would you have done it? Here was the order.
Mm-hmm.
Dax, I'm Elizabeth Lame.
Okay.
You were on our podcast a few years. I'm trying to give him context as to who the fuck I am.
Yeah.
And then literally the next thing, he jumped in with, we've been talking about
okay. You made it feel like there were more
well,
time
there was
had passed.
too much time because I couldn't breathe.
Oh, Elizabeth.
But
were you wearing a cute outfit?
No, God, no. And he looks good, I have to say.
He does?
Yes.
Like, how good?
Good.
Oh,
quite good.
Okay.
And he and his bud were off to do Formula One racing, and they were getting a workout in before or something.
Getting a hike in before you're going racing?
Yeah. Anyway,
what the hell?
This is actually part of what I want to get to. But I was like, what are the chances? Now, maybe this is something he does all the time, and so the chances are not that slim. Like, he's on that hike constantly.
It was not your idea to do this hike. It was our kids' idea,
no,
right?
it was mine.
Oh.
But I also, I mean, I haven't hiked in years. Just like so random. And truly, when I say I got spat out and like was on a collision course with them, because we were like popping up from the side, this like, it's not like I saw him coming.
What?
And I almost feel like had I seen him coming, I would have gone in my head like, oh, I really want to thank him, but also like I don't want to interrupt his hike. And I might have not said something. But the fact that I just didn't even time to think, it was like he was in front of me.
Holy shit.
And he was so sweet. And he was so sweet. Like he looked at Teddy. He's like, hi, I'm Dax. And, you know, great guy. And I was like, thank you so much for all the love. And I said, we keep saying Monica Padman's the gift that keeps on giving. And he was like, well, we'll keep it up, I'm sure, which is very sweet.
I mean, it seems like you'd have to get another shout out now.
I don't know. I mean, anyway, I found that wild.
Wow. I'm a little jealous because it kind of blows out all my recent simulation stories out of the water. It's like you have the best one, and it's so meta. It's kind of infuriating. I'm very happy for us. You?
Well, yeah, it kind of, I mean, like we have said, when these things happen, it feels like it's the universe saying, like, you're on the right track, you're in the right place, you're doing the right things. And obviously this podcast has been a joy, and we both have full-time jobs outside of this. So having this happen, and also the love that Monica's given us, and has just been very meaningful. So anyway.
Did you get to touch him at all?
No touching.
Yeah, probably everybody's kind of sweaty.
No, yeah, and also
hike.
no need to touch.
Okay. If you saw Monica, though, I think there would be hugs.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that.
She and I know each other on a friend level, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew as soon as I said Dax, I was going to have to summon the oxygen to explain who I was to him. But he was so kind.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say, and I don't know how you waited to tell me this.
I know, I was very excited.
Should we just end the show for today? What the fuck?
Yeah, this keeps happening. See, now Andy's looking away like he's now because
fuck?
I feel like now that this simulation story, is it throwing a wrench in everything for you, kind of like?
No. I'm genuine. I was joking about the stealing my simulation thunder. I'm really like, holy shit! What
It's
the
so wild.
fuck?
It is wild. Yeah.
Like, what could top this? And I'm ready for it. Like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
So here's the other thing this is leading me to, which
Hold on to your hat. No.
hold on to your hats. No. Going on this hike, I don't know how much our kid enjoyed it, to be honest.
I thought I just looked down. You're playing with a ring, and I thought you had taken your wedding ring off. And for some reason, it was like my head was spinning.
No, that's different hand.
Okay.
But seeing all these fit people,
Okay.
you know, the Daxes of the world.
Yeah. Was his friend fit too?
Yes.
You'd have to, if you're hanging out with a friend and hiking and then going to drive race cars.
Well, it's, that sport is actually incredibly physical.
I know.
But I realized, first of all, I don't think I've sweat from physical exertion
Really?
in a long, long, long time.
What about, you go on some pretty serious walks?
Walking doesn't, yes, maybe, no, that's true. Maybe I get some sweating.
Okay.
I didn't have the, it felt good to have my heart pumping and being like, oh yeah, I miss this feeling of feeling like a different kind of alive.
Didn't you used to go to a place called the Sweatshop?
Yes.
I bet you sweat there.
I sure did.
So you miss sweating. I'm not to jump in and ruin your story. You want to sweat more.
I do want to sweat more, and also seeing all these fit people. I'm wondering if any of our listeners can relate out there. Like seeing all these super fit people hiking up and down this mountain and being like, and then also some not so fit people and being like, oh, that looks like it would be hard. Or it looks like they're having a harder time.
You're judging everybody, basically.
Yeah, and I'm like somewhere in the middle.
Okay. You're sizing yourself up with everybody else.
No, I wasn't even sizing myself up, but it led me to this.
Okay.
Like, I feel like my body, my feeling towards exercise, it's all so intertwined with all of the disordered diet mentality, we have these videos on now, and we just did like a 20-minute setup because I kept being like, I don't look good. Like, I'm very sensitive to it still, and it bums me out. But I'm also like, and forgive me if I'm saying all the wrong things, because I want you and everyone to remember that I am like coming out, trying to heal my relationship with food, with my body. But also, like, in a weird way, it's almost like the pendulum has swung in this other way where I feel like I'm not allowed to want my body to be any different. Or I'm not allowed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
sure. You think it needs to be like, if you're going to radically accept yourself,
yes,
then now you're going to feel guilty for being like, yeah, but I kind of want to.
I want some abs.
Or whatever. Right. I get it. I get it. Yeah. So you're
that's
feeling
it.
guilty both ways, sort of.
Exactly. And I'm like, why, I don't know what I'm trying to say at all. I think just my takeaway from today is I would like to hike more. I would like to look into like the dance classes like we were talking about last week and like kind of start to incorporate that into my life again because
Mm-hmm.
I was always so active. I mean, in high school, I was like dancing several hours a night, cheerleading, uh, tons of stuff, swimming. Then, college came. I was at that rock climbing wall,
Mm.
belaying people. Then,
That takes a lot of focus. You don't want to.
well, something really bad happened one time.
Please, are you fucking with me right now?
No.
What happened?
Well, no one knows.
You dropped somebody?
No one knows it happened. But this was at the university's outdoor pursuit center. I worked there. I worked at the rock climbing wall.
Yeah.
And like a kid was there that day for some reason, like like an 11-year-old,
Okay.
and it scampered up the wall, and I was on.
It scampered up the wall. The kid, the 11-year-old. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was on belay.
You were on belay.
Mm-hmm.
And you say on belay, right? Belay on.
Yeah, climb on.
Ah, yeah.
But I was distracted. I think that guy I had a crush on was
okay.
Also. And so our rigged system thing basically was like, I was wearing a harness. I had clipped in with the rope. But then we had these little doodads that were like, it's going to be impossible to explain or describe. And
There's a lot of I've been rock climbing like once or twice, and I'm completely along the ride. So
okay,
don't underestimate our Canadian listeners.
There was a little doodad that basically, are your Canadian listeners? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I was just shouting at our Canadian listeners.
Oh, okay. Sorry, confused me.
Are you talking about the figure eight?
Yes.
The little doodad, the figure eight. Yeah. Okay.
So the rope goes in and it makes like a loop.
Yeah.
But then you're supposed to put that loop into your carabiner.
Mm-hmm.
I had the rope in the figure eight, but the loop was not in the carabiner. So it was just connected to nothing.
Okay.
So if this kid had fallen, it would have had, there's nothing. Like the rope is in my hand, basically. That's all I got.
But in theory, isn't that rope going through the figure eight and you have like a hand here? Couldn't you aren't you supposed to be able to stop it? You just didn't have the backup safety situation.
Well, I didn't have the main safety situation that was in front of my harness.
So it was real bad.
It would have been bad. And I realized it while he was way up there.
Belay way off.
Belay not on. Anyway, this kid was way up high when I noticed and was like kind of about to let go.
Die.
God, I looked down and I saw that, and I very quickly, also in having to fix it, I had to let go of the one little backup thing, and I didn't want to yell to him like, wait, hold there, like it was a split-second thing. So I had to let go of my hands, which truly wouldn't have. I mean, he was toast, and quickly slipped it in the carabiner, and then we were all buckled in. But that was a moment where I was just like, in the blink of an eye, your whole life can change.
Yeah. Do you want to edit this out?
Listen, I wasn't that good at that job, obviously. And I've had a lot of jobs that I was not very good at. I always tried my hardest. I mean, I think that day I was distracted, obviously. But when I worked at the car wash, when I was a waitress, when I was a nanny, all my jobs. When I was a temp, what?
You were a good nanny and good.
Yes.
Okay.
I was a good nanny, yes.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I'm just listing. I've had many, many jobs.
Yeah.
Always tried my hardest, but there were definitely several where I was not that good. I never really got the knack of waitressing.
Okay.
I always went in with dread. I mean, I worked at a place where they kind of, they thought they were going to Coyote Ugly in New York, and what they got instead was rodeo bar with the likes of me, not in skimpy clothes, like just normal waitresses.
Well, let's get back then to the exercising thing.
Yes.
Okay. What it sounds like to me is you have to decouple. If you want to sweat and exercise, you have to decouple that from like, it almost seems like you're like, that you think like the only motivation for that is to like change your body shape.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so there's like this weird where you should decouple it and be like, no, when I exercise, I feel better.
Yes.
And not worry about if it's going to do anything to your body.
Right.
I think that's the key here.
You're 100% right. See, it's just so intertwined in my mind.
Yeah.
And I will say, there is part of me, though, that I look at people who obviously exercise a lot and take good care of themselves, where I'm like, that like, you should be allowed to feel proud of yourself.
Yeah.
If that's a priority to you. But I feel like the mindset I've been in is like, no, you shouldn't be allowed, because you're buying into this culture that says that we all have to be this, this, and this to even like have value or matter. You know, it's like, it's kind of a mind fuck. And I'm kind of, today I just had the epiphany, like, oh, there's no shame in me wanting to be fit. Now, is there shame in wanting me to look fit?
Now, did you jump?
Well, wait, answer that. Is there?
No, there shouldn't be, unless it's crossing into something that you feel is unhealthy for your well-being and psyche.
Oh, great answer.
Like but what were you thinking today when you saw all these healthy, fit, tight bod people? Were you like, I want to change my body to that? Or were you thinking, I want to exercise more?
No, I was thinking, this is nice. Like, I'd like to exercise more.
Then I think that's
feels
perfect.
good being out in the world. It was a little hot, but yeah.
And when I say tight bod, I was just referring to Dax and his friend. I don't know what everybody else looked like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
So you're going to sweat.
I'm going to start sweating.
I've been thinking I want to, I don't have as big of plans as you at all, but I just want to start walking again.
Yes.
And I think I want to, you want to notice something? I've been waking up at 5:30. And I feel pretty awake when I wake up.
Yeah.
Then. And I'm like, maybe I should just be getting up then and see what my life would be like. Now, I know you and I have, you have some morning routines that you like to do, but I'm like, maybe I could go walk for half an hour and then be back at the house before you're even up or you're out on your walk.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about retooling my morning thing, because I'm like, if my body's getting up at 5:30, it might be good. I don't know. It might be good for me.
My morning walks are like almost like a spiritual practice at this point. Like, you know, it gives me a little exercise, but that's really not what it's about for me.
Mm-hmm.
And lately I've been listening to Eckhart Tolle, so it like really has become a spiritual practice. And, you know, I want to speak to that in a second, but I think that that's such a good plan for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just centers my entire day. And when I go a few days without it, which like I have right now, although I did that big hike, I can tell, like, and when I get back to it, it feels, I mean, speaking to being like feeling healthy and like it's healthy for your psyche, it feels like the healthiest thing I can do for myself, mind, body, spirit, all of it.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of people that say that's the key. I'm sure I've told the story on the show when I met the guy, he was either 101 or 103 walking, and he had like dope fucking Oakley glasses, like imagine 90s Oakley glasses and a members only jacket on. It was like
amazing.
The coolest dude ever. And he's like, guess how old I am, you know? And we're like, 90? And 101 or 103, whichever it was. And it's like, what are you doing out here by yourself walking? And his whole thing was like, the key is just walking. And
I do think that. So when I say I want to get back to sweating and stuff,
yeah.
I think that that's like separate in my mind. Like just walking, I think is just, I hope to do it for the rest of my existence.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be like a sweat hound for
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rest of days. But Eckhart Tolle was, there was an episode of his podcast recently that was kind of about his, I'm going to really butcher this and I'm oversimplifying all of it. Maybe not though. His whole thing is kind of like Buddhist, where it's like our purpose and our, like, who we are is basically you strip away your personality, you strip away your accomplishments, the things you have, everything, and just who we all are is basically the same, which is awareness of ourselves. And so I've been trying, like, I do find peace and comfort in that. At first it kind of was off-putting, and also sometimes when I like try to be present, which means you kind of stop connecting to your thoughts.
Yeah.
You let your let your brain kind of drain of the mental chatter.
Yeah.
You kind of you kind of look at yourself almost from the outside in.
Yeah.
And recognize like, oh, you are like consciousness, awareness of existence is what you are. Sometimes it feels a little boring though, because like sometimes thinking is exciting, and I don't know, thinking about the future or daydreaming about what's to come. I mean, I find a lot of joy in that. And you and I together have found a lot of joy in like talking about our future plans. And we did that the other day. Remember?
Remind my memory.
We were talking about how it would be amazing if we could like retire and at some point and go do what if I just stopped there? No, and go do basically the European trip I did by myself when I was 21.
Yeah.
But with you and with money. Like
We've had this conversation a bunch. We just had it recently?
Yeah. Huh. So anyway, but the thing Eckhart was saying, because sometimes I do feel someone asked such a great question, which was basically like, if the whole point is to kind of empty yourself of everything and be present and just be in touch with your consciousness.
Yeah.
What about the suffering in the world? Because it almost feels like then you're disconnected from empathy.
Okay.
And I won't do his answer justice. And in fact, I'm not really sure I processed it. But basically, his whole thing is like empathy is actually a really deep connectedness kind of. I don't know. I won't even speak to it. But basically, but what it made me realize is that like it is so important to find joy and be joyful in our lives and experience gratitude and for what we have. And like I've spent a lot of time this week just staring at the trees and like experience those moments and be grateful and feel the love and do what you can to help people, obviously. But it's okay to not take on the suffering of everyone in the world.
Well, yeah. And what's interesting about that is it's a newer thing.
Right.
People weren't able to do that because you didn't know about the entire world's suffering. You only knew about your little group of people in your tribe, right?
Yeah, but even then, I mean, I think back to like my mom's group of friends, there was always a few of the ladies who like their entire identity was connected to being like, oh no, so and so, like talking about everyone's suffering basically. And it's important to talk about suffering with people, but it's also great to be a good friend or to donate to the abortion fund or to whatever, but not feel like, because sometimes I do feel this way. If I'm like, I feel a little guilty. Like, ooh, I get to enjoy this amazing life. And like, we are so fortunate and privileged. And while there are people out there, I mean, and it can sometimes be very much in front of us, like down the street, there are unhoused people who have food insecurity, and who am I to get to be like, ooh, this is nice.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's okay to do that, like seeking joy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to take on the suffering of others, as long as I'm not contributing to it further. And also when I have the opportunity to help them, I do. It's kind of been a revelation.
Damn.
And Eckhart Tolle did talk about like people who identify so much with suffering and the suffering of others that they completely cut themselves off from consciousness, which is what I did when I got so into animal rescue.
I would agree with that. I know what you mean. That makes sense. But yeah, that also it can become your identity in this way. I think we've all interacted with people like that. Maybe their intentions, probably 9 out of 10 times, their intentions are definitely in the right place, but it spills over into this new identity and obsession sometimes that can be very hard to be around, sort of. I'm not talking about your dog rescue stuff.
Well, that was so. Remember, I think that you kind of had a come to Jesus with me about like.
You were a little too, I guess you would maybe cross that line a little bit, but that's not what I was really speaking to just now. But
I remember for people who don't know, years ago, I volunteered for this amazing dog rescue here in LA called the Mutt Scouts. I don't have like the constitution of the person who runs this. Her name's Nikki. And she's like a total dog person. I would have considered myself a total dog person. However, my allergies have now rendered me to be not a dog person, which is a devastation. But volunteering, I quickly became very active with the rescue and then Nikki was moving to the East Coast to the degree that I was kind of running it. Like,
you had big responsibilities.
And when you're exposed to like cruelty towards animals who are just the most innocent, loving, loyal little, like seeing animals who are loyal and loving after having been so abused, seeing people come and drop off their like 12-year-old dog who has a year left at the shelter and walk out with new puppies, seeing, they have to euthanize a lot of the dogs at the shelter because it's overcrowded, and then knowing people are buying purebred dogs, which we have in the past, but I don't know, once you know things and you see things, you change. But at the time I like couldn't handle it. And now I can very much, if my friend buys a purebred dog, like, do I wish they hadn't? Sure. But also I'm like,
sick dog.
Okay. It's a beautiful, beautiful animal. No, I'm like, listen, we all do the best we can, and we know what we know and we do. But back then, like, I probably would have ended a friendship over it. Like, I was so deep into it and crazed, and it made me lose a lot of faith in humanity. And the turning point, you said something to me like, basically, I'm kind of worried about you. And I had become like kind of embittered.
Yeah.
And then I went to this like dog rescue lecture at UCLA with my friend. And I remember looking around the room and going, and I'm about to be such an asshole, but going,
buckle up.
Oh shit. This is what I'm going to be like if I stay in this.
And based about how all those people looked and dressed?
Yeah. And you
could have avoided that, by the way. I was going to see if you took the bait.
No, it was that, and also just the general vibe. And you get around dog rescue. And by the way, they are a certain kind of saint. It is the most thankless. The only thanks they get are from the animals, honestly. The people are so mean to rescue people because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to adopt a dog, pat myself on the back. Like, here's this perfect dog I want. And they email the rescue people and they expect it to operate like a business. And then like maybe they don't hear back and they're like, what the fuck? I want to do the right thing here. And the rescue people are like, that dog's been adopted out. And they're like, but I sent an application in. And so I get it. It's demoralizing. But when I was looking around, I was like, there was how do I describe it? First of all, I was on a slippery slope towards this. Like, it was a fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
There was a look for sure.
Mm.
You've kind of given up. Like, no haircuts, no, no makeup, no haircuts. Not that we should have that, but like,
yeah,
dog hair all over nothing stays nice anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But do I want that for me? Not necessarily. But more than that, there's this roiling anxiety and anger, understandably, from people who I know at one point in time were like soft, open, vulnerable, loving. And that was what scared me. And so I pulled out.
Wow.
Am I, on a scale of 1 to 10,
Uh-huh.
am I going to regret everything I've said in this podcast after Dak Shepard, like at a 1 or a 10?
What's 1 in this case? No regrets?
Yeah.
10's a lot of regrets?
Yeah.
Probably 7 is all.
7? That's quite regretful, Andy. That's quite regretful.
Wow. I feel like disoriented right now. Like, I don't even know. I was with that whole thing, but now I'm kind of lost. Like, where were we before the dog
who fucking
stuff?
Okay.
Oh, I have a question
Eckhart
for you.
Tolle.
Yeah, can I have a question about Eckhart Tolle? Because I feel like listeners are probably being like, Eckhart Tolle? How does that factor in?
New York City.
How does that, like, how do you square? Tell me about Eckhart Tolle, and then tell me, defend Eckhart Tolle to your husband that is very anti-religion, anti-cult, and most recently really anti that stuff. How is Eckhart Tolle playing a role in your life? And just defend him to me and the listeners, just in like 30 seconds.
He doesn't give a fuck. Like, he doesn't give a shit if you listen to him or don't.
Mm-hmm.
He's just saying stuff.
That's the thing. Is he asking for money?
No, I mean, I'm sure he tours
like
and he sells books and stuff, but he was unhoused for several years and sat on a bench and said it was like the most peaceful time of his life after having worked. And this is when like all of these realizations came to him. He speaks openly, though, about being careful not to identify with the spiritual practice because it's just another added layer of ego.
Okay.
So he truly doesn't care. He's not.
But it is hard to say that when he's like so successful and so, do you know what I mean? But I guess as long as he's not knocking on doors, not taking people's life savings away, and not fucking everything that moves, he's way ahead of the pack.
Yeah, I don't. Yes.
What was just going on in your head? Did he just slip into one of your fantasies just now?
No.
Did he? Because that's weird, because I could see him in one of your fantasies. And not based on his cool spiritualism. No, not knocking you, Eckhart, but like you're kind of an interesting looking guy.
Yeah.
Which sometimes shows up in your fantasies.
Yeah, someone you wouldn't automatically label as sexually attractive. Like,
but there's someone for everyone out there.
There's a lid to every pot.
A lid to every pot.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, I wonder how often he's having sex.
Is that because you did look like you had something in your...
Yes.
Okay.
But he talks about he doesn't plan things. Like he just shows up to where he's supposed to be and answers questions the best he can.
Kinky.
Should we talk about, I feel like I've been yammering this
I don't know,
episode.
but just keep going because if you're expecting me to bring up anything at this point, you're at a loss because I am disoriented, but loving every second of it. And you're kind of on one, so let's see where that goes.
Okay. Well, let's talk about how I'm like a medical marvel.
How so? Oh, Jesus, yes. Okay.
I just want to say also, because I just talked about hiking and being out in the world. This was this past week, what I'm about to talk about, and I will explain. This is COVID related. I've since tested negative in every way, shape, and form that one can.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yeah.
Whenever it started, so over a week ago, I was feeling a little crummy, or my throat felt scratchy. I forget why I even took the test.
You told me you were feeling fine, and then in the morning you took a test and you came in and were like,
oh,
so I was feeling kind of crappy in the middle of the night. You woke up.
That's right. I woke up and I had this, like, when I'm starting to get a cold or something, I have this, like, it feels like thick saliva or something all night. And so I took a test, and it was like the faintest line on a rapid test. But there was a line.
For sure.
But so faint. But we take it for what it is. Now, what was strange about this is that just a few days before, I had taken a PCR for work that was negative.
Yep.
So then there's this line, and I'm like, okay, well, that's weird, but it's so faint.
Yep.
But then, like, and you and the kids took a test, and there was nothing, and it, clearly there was...
There's a difference, yeah. You had a line, we had no line.
So I immediately start quarantining. I have to say our house is pretty well set up for this.
Yep.
Like, I was in our bedroom and bathroom and outside. And you and the kids were in the rest of the house. So you were on super dad duty. Life continues. The next day, another faint line.
But
now,
thicker,
the next day
right?
was a little bit darker. And I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And you were like, you should go take a PCR just for confirmation. So I go take a PCR, convinced, obviously, it's going to say positive.
Yeah.
Because we've been told that PCRs are more sensitive. Comes back in the middle of the night, negative. Like, what the fuck? So the next day I take another rapid test.
Yeah.
Faint line still there. A little more faint.
We took tests again just to, like, compare the tests. No line. On
No
the
line.
Rest of the game.
So then I'm like, maybe that PCR was whack. So I go and take another PCR. Negative. On and on this goes. I took 4 PCRs from 2 different places, all negative. Every day, rapid test, barely positive, but positive. And so my doctor was stumped.
Yeah.
But said just quarantine for the 7 days. And now I'm out of the woods. And I felt like kind of crummy. The day that the line was a little bit darker was the day that I felt kind of crummy. And I actually, like, took off the afternoon at work, which is very rare for me to do. So I knew I actually was not feeling well. But anyway, how crazy. I'm wondering if any of our listeners have heard of this, experienced it.
Yeah, we tried to go down some pretty deep, like, Reddit rabbit holes and never found anything. The only thing that resonated to me was, well, there's a few things that could happen, and I talked to your doctor about a couple of them. One is,
I usually have Andy call my doctor to get, so that, 2 men can discuss my medical.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. In this case, I was working, and Andy was like, I need to know what the fuck is going on
before the weekend.
Yeah.
One is you could have had it, 3 weeks ago or something. What doesn't add up with that really, though, is because you get tested once a week for work. So that kind of blows that out of the water. But had you not been getting tested for work, that could have totally made sense. Like, you had COVID and didn't even know it, and then you were getting this faint thing showing up on the rapid. That would have made sense. There's one possibility. I did read that there is sometimes they will go positive if you have like another type of coronavirus in your system, which a lot of colds are
See,
coronaviruses.
that's what I bet it is then.
So so maybe that's another possibility too.
Yeah.
Regardless, we're out of the woods now, which
Mm-hmm.
is great, but what a week. Oy vey.
Oy vey. So crazy.
Yeah.
And the first of us to get it,
Yeah.
if I got it. That's the other thing. I wish it
Yeah.
would be a little comforting to just know, like, okay, I had it, which I feel comfortable saying, I guess, that I did.
Well, at
But
some point we started feeling, I remember talking to my brother and then catching myself what I was saying. Being like, yeah, but yeah, she's taken four rapid tests and they're all coming back positive, but we don't know if she has COVID. And like just being like, that sounds so stupid.
yeah, but 4 PCR tests that came back negative.
Yeah, that's true. Which those are supposed to be the ones. So who knows? Who knows? But now, I'm just glad we're through it.
Me too.
I was sleeping on the couch and that other bathroom doesn't have the bidet on it. And I've
Is your
found
ass just whack right now?
I've found that the bidet solved all of my years of butt problems.
Wow.
I love it so much. I missed it. So I'm glad to be back in that
Oh,
bathroom.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm glad to be back in the shower.
Yes.
I love a good shower.
I'm excited to get back in the bath.
How about this though? How does my skin look? Because I didn't have my face wash, and so instead of using my face wash this week, I've been using just a hot washcloth with just water. I don't have sometimes I have little flakes on my face and stuff. I feel like I have none of that right now.
Yeah, your skin looks better. I think that face wash you use is drying.
I think I'm just going to do a real nice hot washcloth and really scrub.
Good for you.
I remember in college, we had one of my good friends, these 3 girls lived in a house, and one of them was so funny. Ashley had a bit of a struggle with acne, though, sometimes. And I can remember it was so funny. One of her roommates, great skin, real pretty girl, just being like, I'm telling you, you just need to use water. And just like that setting Ashley off, like blowing her top.
Right.
Like, you think I haven't
You
just
don't,
tried water,
don't
you
know
motherfucker.
anything.
Yeah.
I've burned my face off. I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was Ashley's personality like?
Oh my God. Just so funny. And like, I don't, yeah, just so funny, kind of rabble rouser, like fucked with people. And I don't think I'd ever met a girl like that until I met her in college. Like, really kind of like loved kind of fucking with people in a playful, way. I'm not describing this in well enough.
And will you tell me what happened?
Yeah, she passed away from melanoma.
I didn't know it was melanoma.
Yeah, so she had this she had a mole like on her leg that was like big and like crazy, and like at one point had gone to health services and they like were like, no, it's fine. And then
And had it like been new?
I don't remember if it was new, but it was big. Like
Mhm.
and yeah, and then so she was sick most of the time, or I would say half the time I knew her in college.
When was it like diagnosed and stuff?
Probably when we met when we were freshmen, and then that was probably diagnosed like maybe our junior year.
Wow.
Yeah. And
And do you remember her telling you that she had this? Did you you probably in college didn't understand what it meant.
it was really weird, and I have a lot of regrets too around it, of like, not visiting enough in the hospital and stuff like that. Obviously I visited in the hospital and whatnot, but yeah, like probably not really comprehending all of it, because there would be times where she'd be in the hospital for a while and then would be home but sick.
Was she doing like chemo?
Yeah, I guess she was doing chemo. And
where was home?
she had, for a lot of it, she just had like an apartment in Missoula, Montana too.
Oh wow.
But yeah, just kind of, crazy.
And so did it happen really fast, obviously?
She, no, she, so maybe when I was a junior in college, and then she passed away after I had moved to New York.
Oh,
So yeah, not super fast, but yeah, super sad.
so sad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think it's really rare for young people to have melanoma.
And you know what's really interesting, and I have no really tie. Well, maybe there's a couple people that might know about this now, but there was at the time like a big question mark. She was from a particular town in Montana that had like kind of an eerie amount
Oh, almost
of
like the Aaron Brockovich thing.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So that I can remember being something like hanging in the air then, and I wonder if there's anything to that. If they were like, oh shit, no, we found out, you know, people that lived here that were drinking this water or whatever it was.
Right.
But yeah.
Oh man, so sad.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I haven't heard you talk about her like personality before, so I don't know. I like hearing that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun gal.
Yeah, super. I'm trying to think of like a great example, but I can't really think of one that's not a little offensive.
That's amazing. Okay, well, I think that we did it. I'm sorry that I don't know what was going on with me today, but I just
It was
in the flow of things.
It was a great ride. And truthfully, what the fuck you've bumped into Dax Shepard today?
Literally on a mountain.
Real.
So weird.
And also, I mean, were you just giddy as fuck as I was reading those reviews too that were shouting out his podcast?
Yes.
I mean, it's just insane.
It's crazy. And if anyone wants to leave us a review, please do. They mean so much to us. Coming hopefully next week is, I think we're going to launch our Patreon page where people can support us.
That's cool.
Which will be very exciting. And we'll figure out, ways to make it worth people's while.
Oh, hell yeah.
So anyway, and then follow us on Instagram at Nobody's Listening Right for fun videos.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Night.